The old house loomed before Sarah like a faded photograph, filled with nostalgia and too many memories. Every time she returned, it felt like stepping back into a time capsule, one that housed both warmth and the sting of past heartaches. Today was no different. She took a deep breath, trying to quell the fluttering in her stomach as she reached for the doorknob, her heart racing with a blend of excitement and dread. Inside, the air was thick with a mixture of scents, the earthy smell of wood mingled with the faintest hint of lemon cleaner. It reminded her of Saturdays spent helping her mom tidy up, echoing laughter and playful arguments with her stepbrother Jake. The world outside faded away as she stepped in, her surroundings familiar yet foreign all at once. Would things still be the same between them? "Sarah!" A voice rang out, breaking the silence. It was her mother, standing at the edge of the living room, a warm smile on her face. But just behind her, she caught a glimpse of Jake, his presence shifting the atmosphere like a sudden gust of wind. He was leaning against the doorway, his familiar lazy grin partially hidden by a cascade of dark hair. "Hey there, sis," he said, his voice teasing yet genuine. The nickname sent a shiver down her spine, a reminder of the bond they had forged over years of shared adventures. But something felt different today. She could feel the weight of unspoken words hanging between them, an invisible thread drawing them closer, yet keeping them separate. "Wow, you look different," he remarked, inspecting her with a playful squint. "More adult, I guess." "Thanks, I think," Sarah replied, forcing a laugh to cover the nerves gnawing at her insides. The friendly banter had always been their safe zone, but today she worried it would drift into deeper waters, leaving her exposed. Just trying to survive college, you know? As they navigated the brief reunion, Sarah stole glances at Jake. He had grown taller, more defined, but it was the warmth in his gaze that stirred memories she thought she had locked away. She remembered lazy summers spent lying on the grass, dreaming about the future, unknowingly weaving an intricate tapestry of emotions. Each memory was a thread, and somehow they were both still tugging at it, even now. "Hey, let me show you." "Your room," Jake said, breaking the spell of silence that had engulfed them. Without waiting for a reply, he led the way upstairs, a mix of eagerness and mischief in his step. "Are we still using my old room?" Sarah inquired, a hint of disbelief in her voice. It had always been a safe haven for her, even when things were tumultuous in their family. She half expected someone had revamped it, transformed it into a guest room, maybe even stripped it of its identity. "Of course. I've kept it just the way you left it, minus the posters," he quipped, throwing a glance over his shoulder. "Don't worry, I didn't change your precious unicorn poster. It's still there collecting dust." "Unicorns are timeless, Jake," Sarah shot back, a smile creeping on her face. Memories of silly fights over room decor flooded back, as did the warmth of their shared history. But as they reached her room, Jake's demeanor shifted slightly, the teasing glint in his eye replaced by something deeper that made the hairs on the back of Sarah's neck stand up. Pushing open the door, Jake stepped aside, allowing her to enter first. What met her eyes was familiar, yet different. Her childhood treasures mingled with remnants of her teenage years. As she walked in, a swell of nostalgia washed over her, stirring emotions she had long hidden away. But nestled on her bed was something unexpected, a small box wrapped in silver paper, glimmering under the soft light like a forgotten star. "What's this?" Sarah asked, picking it up with trembling fingers. There was a rush of curiosity interwoven with apprehension, a desire to uncover whatever secret lay within. "Just a little something I thought you might like," Jake replied, his voice casual, but his eyes betrayed a depth of meaning. "Go on, open it." With each layer she peeled away, Sarah could feel the tension thickening in the air. Jake stood close, and she could sense his anticipation, almost as if he was holding his breath, along with her. Finally, the last piece of paper fell away, revealing an old journal, the leather cover worn and creased, yet still exuding character. "This was mine when I was younger," Jake explained, his tone shifting as he stepped closer. "I figured you might find it interesting. There are a lot of memories in there." "Why didn't you keep it?" she asked, puzzled by the gesture. It seems important. Jake hesitated, his expression faltering. I guess I wanted you to have it. Maybe it could inspire you or bring back some good memories. His eyes flickered with vulnerability, stirring a mix of gratitude and confusion in her heart. Sarah opened the journal, the pages filled with scribbles, doodles, and snippets of his teenage thoughts, fragments of a boy who once dreamed big, wrote about girls and adventures, and even illustrated ludicrous scenarios of their childhood. Laughter bubbled from her lips as she read, but within it was also the bittersweet realization of time passing. This is amazing, Jake. I can't believe you kept all of this, she exclaimed, her fingers tracing the pages as if they could resurrect the moments captured within. It was more than a journal. It was a window into the boy she had grown up with, now an emerging man, wrestling with his own dreams and aspirations. Yeah, well, I thought you'd appreciate it more than I would, he replied, shrugging in that endearing way of his. But as his smile faded slightly, she felt a shift. It was as if he was letting her glimpse a part of himself he had kept hidden. They spent the afternoon reminiscing, flipping through the pages together, sharing laughter over silly annotations and stories. But nestled inside those moments was an unspoken connection, a deep-seated bond that seemed to reach for the surface. Sarah noticed how Jake looked at her, not just as a sister, but perhaps as someone more, someone who shared a history filled with laughter and whispered secrets. After the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting warm shades of orange and pink, through the window, Sarah set the journal down, her heart racing. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something monumental, something that could change everything. And despite the fear that danced at the edges of her heart, she found herself yearning to leap into the unknown. With a deep breath, Sarah finally asked, Jake, do you ever think about how things have changed between us? He met her gaze, his expression contemplative. Every day, he said softly. And I'm not sure what it means, but I feel it too. In that moment, they both understood that the winds of change were shifting, and their intertwined fates were poised to reveal what lay ahead. The unspoken connection asserted itself, a delicate dance that left both of them breathless. Something monumental was brewing just beneath the surface, waiting for them to take the plunge. And as the day faded into dusk, Sarah could hardly believe how quickly everything had shifted. The journey ahead was uncertain, but one truth was clear. Their lives were no longer separate chapters. They were becoming entwined stories, ready to be unearthed with each turn of the page. The unspoken feelings. The next morning, Sarah awoke to the gentle glow of sunlight filtering through her bedroom window. The remnants of the previous night still danced in her mind, laughter, shared memories, and the weight of that moment when Jake had opened up about his feelings. With a flutter of anticipation swelling in her chest, she rose from bed, still gripping the journal he'd gifted her like it held the secrets to a treasure chest. The house was cloaked in an air of tranquility, a stark contrast to the storm of emotions swirling within her. Sarah rushed through her morning routine, her mind racing as she went over everything that had transpired. Why did it feel like something had shifted? Their bond had always been special, but this was different, laden with unexpressed words and tentative hope. Hey, sleepyhead! Jake's voice rang out cheerfully as she entered the kitchen. He was mixing pancake batter, wearing an apron that read, "Kiss the cook." The sight was enough to elicit a smile from her, momentarily easing the tension building inside. Nice apron, she teased, leaning against the counter. Did you steal that from Mom? Jake chuckled, shaking his head. I have taste, thank you very much. He served her a plate filled with golden pancakes, their warm aroma inviting her to sit down and enjoy the meal. You should appreciate my culinary skills. It's not easy making breakfast for a queen. Flattery will get you everywhere, Sarah replied, her heart lightening as they dipped into familiar banter. But even as they laughed, she felt the tension hang in the air like a delicate web, fragile yet unbreakable, ready to snap at any moment. As they ate, she couldn't shake the feeling that their casual exchange was precariously balanced on the edge of something profound. Each fleeting glance felt charged, igniting an electric current whenever their eyes met. Beneath the light-hearted conversations, there was a foundation simmering with questions waiting to be voiced. Are you excited for the first day of summer? Got any plans? Jake asked, pushing aside his empty plate and leaning back in his chair. Honestly, I just want to relax and maybe refocus my mind on the upcoming semester, she said, her thoughts drifting dynamically. But I wouldn't mind spending more time with you and Mom. It's nice to be home. Jake's gaze lingered on her, intense and searching. How about we plan some adventures? You know, like when we were kids, just the two of us. The suggestion sent her heart racing. Images of childhood escapades, bike rides, camping in the backyard, and daring tree climbs flashed through her mind. But now those memories were tinged with an unfamiliar intensity, urging her to consider what they could become. Adventure sounds great. Sarah smiled, but underneath her bravado, she wrestled with the uncertainty of what might unfold. I'm in. The rest of the day passed in a blur of activity. They ventured to the local park, roaming the grounds that had been their playground as children. Each step echoed with shared laughter and whispered secrets. It was intoxicating and daunting at the same time. The thrill of rekindled friendship mixed with the undercurrent of something deeper thrilled and terrified her. As they settled under a familiar tree one they had claimed as their spot growing up, Sarah felt the palpable tension of unexpressed feelings linger in the air. She leaned back against the sturdy trunk, watching the clouds glide lazily by, while Jake stretched out beside her, his laughter stirring something within her. Remember that time we tried to build a treehouse? He asked, his voice warm with nostalgia. How could I forget? You almost fell from that crazy branch, Sarah replied, giggling at the memory. You always took risks. Yeah, well, someone had to be the adventurous one, he defended playfully. And you were my trusty sidekick. There was a sparkle in his eyes, yet it was accompanied by an unexpected seriousness as he continued. But you were always the one who grounded me when I needed that. Her stomach flipped at his words. Were they truly just memories? Or was he hinting at something more? The realization brought both exhilaration and trepidation, uncertainty settling in the pit of her stomach. Jake, can I ask you something? Sure, shoot. He propped himself up on one elbow, giving her his full attention, a subtle reminder that everything felt heavier when they spoke openly. What do you think would happen if we tried to... Sarah hesitated, her heart pounding. You know, what would happen if we crossed that line between friends and something more? Jake's expression shifted, the casual air dissipating like morning mist. Honestly, I've thought about that. A lot, he admitted, his tone earnest yet vulnerable. I don't want to lose what we have, but I can't ignore what I feel. His words hung in the air, resonating like a bell tolling deep within her. The sweet mix of fear and excitement coursed through her veins, urging her to leap into the abyss. But her rational mind pulled her back. What if they lost what they already had? What if stepping over that threshold corrupted their precious bond? I'm scared, Jake, she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. Of what it would mean. Of the possibility of losing you. His eyes softened, and he shifted closer. I'm scared too, but I don't think we can ignore this anymore. It feels too real to brush aside. The vulnerability in his gaze set every nerve in her body aflame. She could feel the weight of everything they had shared boiling to the surface, threatening to overwhelm her with emotions she wasn't prepared for. A part of her longed to embrace it, to dive headfirst into the unknown. But another part held her back, laced with insecurities and fears of what could go wrong. Maybe we have to take baby steps, she suggested tentatively. Just explore these feelings. She looked at him, trying to gauge his reaction. Jake nodded thoughtfully, relief casting a warm glow on his features. I like that idea. No rush, just let it happen naturally. As the sun began to set, bathing the world in soft hues, Sarah felt a shift. The pressure of unspoken words began to ease, replaced by a thrilling new current. They spent the evening talking about everything and nothing, laughter flowing freely, all the while under the watchful eye of the twilight sky. For the first time, in a long while, Sarah felt a sense of hope blooming within her, hope rooted in the possibility of new beginnings. Perhaps this was what they needed, an opening to explore the labyrinth of emotions that had quietly been spinning around them, woven into the very fabric of their shared history. As twilight deepened into night, they made their way back home, the familiar route stirring warm memories. But something different lingered in the air, a promise of exploration, a truce with their feelings that had long been hidden away. Arriving back, the house was quiet, almost eerily so. Yet, amidst the silence, Sarah felt alive with possibility. She caught a glimpse of Jake as he caught her gaze. The mutual understanding reflected in his eyes told her everything needed to be unsaid. Beneath the layers of their intertwined past, they stood on the cusp of a profound journey, ready to redefine their story. Under that familiar roof, with the past wrapping around them, a new chapter awaited. And Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that whatever lay ahead would intertwine their lives in ways they could hardly fathom. Was she ready to embrace it? To confront those feelings head-on? The answer echoed within her, as exhilarating and terrifying as it was clear. Yes. The confession. The following days blurred together in a whirlwind of excitement and anxiety. Each moment spent with Jake was a dance on the edge, a thrilling mix of friendship and deep-seated feelings. They explored the world around them, but within that exploration, the weight of unspoken truths loomed larger than ever. Sarah felt as if they were both holding their breath, poised at the brink of revelation. One afternoon, the sun bathed the backyard in golden warmth. Sarah sat cross-legged on the grass with a sketchbook in her lap, absent-mindedly doodling as Jake tossed a frisbee to their dog, Max. The playful barks of the golden retriever echoed in the air, blending with the sound of their laughter. But even amidst the fun, Sarah's mind was racing, grappling with the swirling thoughts that had taken root over the past week. "Hey, can I see what you're drawing?" Jake asked, jogging over, his brow glistening with sweat from the afternoon heat. "Just some random stuff," she said, feeling her cheeks flush as she turned the sketchbook away. "It's not that interesting." "Come on, don't be shy." "I promise I won't judge," he said with a teasing grin, plopping down next to her. His proximity sent a jolt of awareness coursing through her. Reluctantly, she turned the sketchbook toward him. It revealed a haphazard collection of doodles. Flowers, animals, even a few caricatures of them both. But it was the last page that caught her breath, an abstract illustration capturing two figures, their hands nearly touching. It encapsulated everything she couldn't articulate. "Wow, this is amazing," Jake exclaimed, his eyes wide as he traced the outline of the drawing with his finger. "But this last one, it's different. What does it mean?" Her heart raced, panic washing over her. The line between playful art and deeper feelings had suddenly blurred. It's just a thought," she said hastily, but Jake wasn't letting it go. "Sarah, come on. This isn't just a thought. It feels meaningful." His gaze locked onto hers. A silent challenge enveloped them, rippling with tension in the air. I don't know how to explain it," she said, her voice shaky. "There's so much I want to say, but..." The words hung in the air, thick with unshared emotion. She could feel herself teetering on the edge of confession, knowing that the smallest push could send her tumbling into unfamiliar territory. "Just tell me," he urged gently, leaning a little closer. "You can say anything to me, Sarah. You know that." His sincerity melted some of the walls she had erected. "It's just, ever since I came home, everything feels different," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I feel like we're on the edge of something, but I don't know what it is or how to explore it." Jake's eyes widened with understanding, his expression shifting from playful to earnest, the weight of her admission settling over them. "That's how I feel too. But I didn't want to ruin what we had." "Maybe it's not about ruining it," she said, emboldened by his openness. "Maybe it's about discovering something new together." The air shifted as they locked eyes, the tension crackling like electricity. In that moment, everything felt suspended in time, words unspoken, emotions tangled in a beautiful mess. Sarah could feel Jake's heartbeat synchronizing with her own, each thud resonating with the uncharted territory they both stood at the edge of. But just as she felt herself ready to dive deeper, Max bounded over, his trusty tail wagging as if to break the tension that had thickened around them. The moment evaporated, leaving them both slightly breathless, a mix of vulnerability and hesitation lingering in the air. "Okay, let's take a break," Sarah said, forcing a smile, though her heart raced in the aftermath. They began to toss, the frisbee for Max, laughter spilling from both of them, trying to mask the weight of what had just transpired. That evening, Sarah found herself unable to shake the intensity of their earlier exchange. As she lay in bed, the shadows of the room lengthening around her, she felt a fierce longing to bridge the distance between them. Each time she closed her eyes, she saw Jake's expression, the way it shifted from playful curiosity to an intimate, understanding that rattled her core. The next day decided to reveal itself as another sunny delight. Mom made plans for a family BBQ, which added an extra layer of excitement to the atmosphere. It was a chance to bring everyone together, but for Sarah, it was also an opportunity to further explore the budding complexity of her feelings toward Jake. As they prepped in the kitchen, laughter filling the space, Sarah snuck glances at him while they arranged the food. He was animated, joking with her mom about the ridiculousness of pineapple on pizza. Yet still, there was that unshakable undercurrent, running between them, a softness in the air that hinted at their unspoken possibilities. "Hey, I need your opinion," Sarah called out after a moment of silence. "What do you think of the idea of playing a game later? Something interactive to get everyone involved?" "Like what?" Jake arched an eyebrow, intrigued. "How about charades? It'll be fun to see everyone's acting skills or lack thereof," she proposed, her smile growing as his enthusiasm peaked. "Count me in." "Just don't be surprised if I absolutely crush you," Jake teased, winking playfully before returning to joking with her mom. Throughout the day, the house buzzed with activity as family and friends trickled in. The scents of grilled food wafted through the air, and the sound of cheerful chatter painted a vivid backdrop for their gathering. Sarah felt the warmth of connection wrapping around her, yet the flickering tension with Jake lingered at the edges, a reminder of what lay beneath the surface. As twilight descended, the stars began to twinkle in the night sky. With everyone gathered outside, they started their game of charades. The energy infectious as competitive spirits soared and laughter rang out. The playful interactions brought everyone closer, creating a tapestry of friendships intertwined in joy. But the tension between Sarah and Jake didn't just fade into the background. Each time their eyes met during the game, a moment sparked between them, amplifying the anticipation simmering beneath the surface. Sarah felt a magnetic pull drawing her toward him, a voice within that urged her to bridge the gap. Eventually, the game turned to a quieter moment. Jake stood alone on one side of the yard, his laughter echoing amidst the chaos of the competition. Sarah watched him, her heart racing, as if the universe was coaxing her to take a leap. "Jake, come here for a sec," she called out, her voice slicing through the laughter surrounding them. The moment their eyes met, the world faded, and it was only them. "Yeah?" he asked, walking over, his expression curious yet cautious. "Can we talk?" she said, her tone shifting from playful to earnest. The air around them thickened, anticipation crackled between them, leaving them hanging on the precipice of something crucial. "Sure," he replied, glancing around before leading her away, from the noise toward a quieter corner of the yard illuminated by soft lights strung overhead. Once they reached a more secluded spot, Sarah took a deep breath, her heart racing as the words spilled out. "I know things are complicated between us, but I don't want to keep dancing around it anymore. I want to explore what's happening here, what's between us." Jake's eyes widened, surprise flickering across his face before it settled into determination. "You're right. I've wanted to say something similar. I was just scared to mess things up." "Maybe it doesn't have to be messy," she suggested, her voice firm yet vulnerable. "What if we took it one step at a time? We could start by being more honest with each other about what we feel." The weight of tension melted as Jake stepped closer, his expression softening with sincerity. "I want that too," he said quietly. "This is scary for me, but I trust you." In that moment, everything around them faded into oblivion. The laughter and chatter of the BBQ became distant echoes, leaving only the two of them, their hearts thrumming in sync. They took a step closer, inches apart as the world stood still, The potential waiting between them was palpable. Suddenly, a loud crash erupted from the other side of the yard. A chair toppled over as someone lost their balance, laughter erupting in its wake. The light-hearted chaos snapped them from their intimate moment, and they both chuckled nervously. "Looks like we're doomed to be interrupted," Jake joked, though the flicker of disappointment edged his voice. "Let's not let that stop us," she said, feeling a rush of courage. "We can talk later, maybe tomorrow. I'd like to unpack all of this." He nodded, a thoughtful smile crossing his face, though uncertainty flickered just beneath the surface. "Tomorrow sounds good. I'm looking forward to it." As they returned to the joyous noises of the gathering, Sarah felt a sense of hope swell within her. The journey ahead was uncertain but exhilarating, thrilling exploration of the uncharted territory spiraling between them. With every moment spent together, each shared laugh and honest confession would pull them closer into the depths of a bond that promised to unravel beautifully. And so, among family and friends, amidst laughter and warmth, Sarah knew they were spiraling toward something significant, waiting to bloom into a newfound connection that had been patiently waiting beneath the surface of their lives. The night unfolded around them, fragile and fleeting, but full of radiant promise. And with that promise, she realized that their story was only just beginning, a day of adventure. The next day dawned bright and inviting, the kind of morning that promised adventure and laughter. Sarah awoke with a renewed sense of excitement, recalling the conversations with Jake that had unfolded the previous evening. They had spoken of feelings, hopes, and the endless possibilities ahead, and those thoughts buzzed in her mind like fireflies in the night. Today was the day they had decided to venture into the nearby woods, a familiar haunt from their childhood. They would hike the winding trails, explore forgotten paths, and perhaps even reveal more about their evolving bond as the trees whispered their secrets. "Are you ready for some serious exploration?" Jake's voice broke through the early morning air as he knocked on her bedroom door, a playful urgency to his tone. "Just give me a minute," she called back, hurriedly pulling on her favorite jeans and a comfortable t-shirt. The nervous energy between them was palpable, and she couldn't shake the thrill of anticipation. Today felt monumental, another opportunity to bridge the gap, to let their friendship blossom into something new. When Sarah finally stepped outside, Jake stood waiting, at the foot of the porch, dressed in hiking boots and a backpack slung casually over one shoulder. His excitement was infectious, and as they set off toward the woods, she felt a rush of happiness swell within her. "Just like old times, right?" Jake said, glancing back with a grin that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "Only this time, I won't let you fall into any muddy puddles. Thanks for the vote of confidence. Just promise not to leave me behind if I do," she countered, laughter spilling between them as they walked side by side. The sun filtered through the dense canopy as they wandered deeper into the woods, the familiar sounds of rustling leaves and chirping birds enveloping them like a blanket. Each step felt like a journey back in time, rediscovering forgotten trails and hidden nooks that had once been their playground. As they hiked, the conversation flowed easily between them, filled with laughter and teasing remarks. Sarah found herself stealing glances at Jake, trying to navigate the complexities of their new emotional landscape. With each smile and shared moment, the weight of their past blended seamlessly with visions of a shared future. "Do you think we could find that old treehouse we tried to build?" Jake asked suddenly, a hint of mischief in his eyes. "You know, the one we never actually finished?" "I think it probably fell apart years ago," Sarah replied, recalling the botched construction efforts and their subsequent adventures. "But I'd love to see what's left of it, if anything." With that in mind, they veered off the main path, laughter trailing behind them as they navigated through the underbrush. The excitement brought them closer, the air filled with unspoken words that lingered on the edges of their playful banter. After a few minutes of wandering, they stumbled into a small clearing overwhelmed by the sheer beauty of nature. Sunlight poured through the treetops, illuminating the vibrant wildflowers that danced with the gentle breeze. It was breathtaking. "Wow," Jake breathed, taking in the beauty around them. "This place is amazing." "Just like I remembered," Sarah replied. "It feels like a hidden treasure." As they stood there, time seemed to slow, and for a moment, Everything else faded away. The previous conversations about their feelings drifted into the background, replaced by an electric tension that charged the air between them. It was something they both sensed, but hadn't yet dared to embrace fully. "Hey, have you ever thought about building another treehouse?" Jake asked, breaking the spell. "You know, for old time's sake?" "Only if you promise not to let me fall," Sarah replied with a teasing smile. "Deal." He laughed, and just like that, the playful banter resumed, each joke enhancing the delicate connection woven between them. An hour later, after plenty of exploration and laughter, they finally reached the remnants of their long-forgotten makeshift treehouse, or rather, the space where it had once stood, now nothing more than memories and a few scattered planks of wood lying forlornly on the ground. "Well, this is a letdown," Jake joked, nudging one of the boards with his foot. "I was hoping for a magical reveal, maybe a portal to another world." "Who knows? It could be a hidden dimension for all we know," Sarah responded, trying to shake off a sense of disappointment. "But this is where our imagination took flight once, and that still counts for something." "True," Jake replied thoughtfully, his expression softening. "We made some amazing memories here." In that moment, the vulnerability returned. They stood beside one another, the air thick with emotions unsaid. It felt like the perfect time to address everything floating between them. But Sarah hesitated, unsure if she was ready to cross that threshold. "What if we built it again?" Jake suggested suddenly, breaking the silence that enveloped them. "Not just a treehouse, but a place where we could come back, share stories. Everything." Caught off guard, Sarah met his gaze, heart racing at the thought. "You're serious?" "Absolutely," he replied, a glimmer of sincerity shining in his eyes. "I want to make more memories with you beyond just the past. I want us to have something that's ours." A surge of warmth coursed through her, wrapping around her heart like a comforting embrace. She could hardly breathe, feeling the weight of everything she wanted to say, everything that had been left unspoken. "Jake, Her voice wavered, the words tumbling over each other. "I want that too, but I also don't want to put too much pressure on us." "Maybe we don't have to overthink it," he countered softly. "Let's take it slow. We can start small, just the two of us." As his words settled over her, she felt a mix of hope and fear. Everything was so much more complicated than before, yet the desire to leap forward was overwhelming. "Okay," she agreed, feeling the knot of anticipation in. Her stomach loosened just a bit. "I'd love to do that with you." "I can't wait," Jake said, a broad smile lighting up his face. After a moment of quiet contemplation amidst the remnants of their childhood dreams, they continued their exploration of the woods. They climbed hills, crossed bubbling brooks, and collected interesting stones as they wandered, energy building between them like a soft current. As the day shifted towards evening, the sky painted itself in shades of fiery orange and soft lavender. The air turned cooler, and with each step, Sarah felt an electrifying tension simmering beneath the surface. The anticipation was palpable, something she couldn't ignore, even if she tried. As they paused to catch their breath on a rocky outcrop, overlooking the valley, the moment felt charged with possibility. Sarah turned to Jake, who was gazing out over the scenery, his expression thoughtful. "Jake," she began, her heart racing at the vulnerability of the forthcoming words. He turned, meeting her gaze with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. "Yeah?" "I want to talk about what's been building between us. I don't want to keep hiding how I feel," she stated, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her chest. "We've touched on it, and I think we should address it." His brow furrowed slightly as he considered her words. "You're right. I feel it too, and I've been waiting for the right moment to bring it up." Suddenly, an unexpected rustle broke through the serene atmosphere. From the foliage nearby, a deer emerged, attuned to their presence. It stood still, observing them with watchful eyes, and for a brief moment, time felt suspended. "There's beauty in the unexpected," she whispered, both stunned and enchanted by the deer's appearance. "Just like us," Jake murmured, a thoughtful smile gracing his lips. There's something beautiful and terrifying about stepping into the unknown. But just as tension began to ebb, a distant sound echoed through the forest, a crashing noise, rattling the trees, followed by a guttural roar that echoed ominously around them. The deer bolted, disappearing into the woods. What was that? Sarah's heart raced, panic setting in. I don't know, Jake said, peering over the ledge as he scanned the area. We should head back. It sounds like it could be dangerous. The unease between them thickened, and they carefully began to retrace their steps. But inside Sarah's heart, an underlying dread festered. They hadn't ventured far when the sound echoed again, closer this time, a branch snapping followed by another roar. Jake, we need to move faster, she urged, adrenaline beginning to course through her veins. They quickened their pace, the woods closing in around them as the tension turned sharper. Beads of sweat formed on Sarah's brow while her anxiety turned into raw fear. A few minutes later, they stumbled onto the main path, thank God. But the safety wasn't enough to quell the unease that had taken root in Sarah's heart. Suddenly, Jake froze beside her, his body tense. Do you hear that? He whispered, glancing back toward the trees. The air grew thick with silence before the sound roared again, louder this time, reverberating through the very ground beneath them. They exchanged knowing, terrified glances, and in that fleeting moment, their friendship transformed into something deeper. They were no longer just childhood friends. They were partners, bound together by fear and courage. Run! Jake shouted, and without a second thought, they took off down the path, feet pounding against the earth. The woods around them seemed to close in, branches clawing at their arms and legs as they desperately sought an escape. The sound roared again, something large and menacing. Sarah fought the impulse to look back, knowing full well that whatever it was chasing them. They pressed on, breathless terror propelling them forward. This was no longer just a simple adventure. It was a fight to escape the unknown. With each pounding heart, each desperate breath, their bond deepened, holding them tight against the fear that threatened to pull them apart. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of flight, they burst. Through the trees and onto the open road leading back to the house. With adrenaline surging, they turned to look behind them, their expressions a mix of shock and relief. What was that? Sarah gasped, eyes wide. I have no idea. Jake panted, struggling to catch his breath. But it felt too close. Yet, as they stood there, heartbeats racing and minds reeling, their eyes locked in a moment that transcended fear. They had faced something together unnameable, and having emerged together only solidified the bond that had formed between them. Let's get inside, Jake said. We can talk about it. Later. I think it's better to be inside right now. They hurried back to the house, locking the door behind them, the reality of what had just occurred settling heavily upon them. Inside, they leaned against the door, catching their breath as the adrenaline slowly faded. Are you okay? Jake asked, concern lacing his voice as he searched her face. Yeah, I think so, she replied, feeling exhilarated yet shaken. What was that thing? I don't know, but it felt real. And frightening, he admitted, raking a hand through his hair in exasperation. Opting to change the subject, Sarah took a deep breath. The tension from before returning, only now it felt amplified. That was an adventure we definitely didn't plan for. Yeah, he replied, unable to mask the seriousness in his tone. But it also showed us something, I think. We can face unexpected challenges together. Absolutely, she agreed, her heart echoing his sentiment. Maybe today wasn't just about exploring the woods. Maybe it was about finding ourselves in the face of fear. As they shared a moment of unspeakable realization, Sarah felt an undeniable weight shift within her. They had ventured into the unknown, explored the depths of their friendship, and faced fear together. It was nothing short of monumental. A sudden firelight flickered through the window, illuminating their faces drawing nearer. Sarah's heart raced. What if we didn't just let the day fade into the ordinary? What if we embraced this? She suggested, the words tumbling out as she locked eyes with Jake. Together, he whispered, the promise echoing in the air. a silent vow to undertake the next chapter, whatever it held. And in that moment, standing together as partners in adventure and fear, they realized that their story was far from over. They were ready to step boldly into the next unknown, hand in hand, hearts open to whatever awaited them in the great uncharted wilderness of life ahead.